With the Pennsylvania primary just a few weeks away, candidates on both sides of the aisle will be asking voters whether they think they're better off now than they were 8 years ago. Well, if you look at our region's performance over that period, the answer is probably yes. In fact, our region's really been punching above its weight. As measured by gross domestic product between 2010 and 2014, our region's economy actually grew faster than the nation's over that period. Our challenge is really building and sustaining that momentum. Jim Futrell is back with us. He's Vice President of Market Research for the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance, an affiliate of the Allegheny Conference. Dennis Yablonsky is the CEO of the conference, which of course co-produces this program. And welcome. Good to have you both here.
Sure thing. Great to be here.
Yeah, we heard a great overview of what's been happening in terms of investment in our region over the past year. Dennis, it's a pretty good story right now.
Absolutely. 15 can continue to be a solid year with a nice balance of projects and expansions. And given where the economy's headed these days, we're pretty happy with the year that was similar to 2014.
Yeah, and Jim, this is not a one-night wonder or just sort of a one-year one-off. There's been real consistency in terms of the performance of our economy in recent years.
Right. I mean, it's really been a steady performance. Not a lot of the fluctuations that you might see in a lot of other markets, but a very good, steady performance, really focused around our key sectors.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about some of those sectors in our first segment. But when you look at the overall performance of the economy, I know you've been looking recently at gross domestic product. What does it tell you about what's happening here versus, say, what's happening across the country and to the regions we compete with?
Well, I think gross domestic product is a great way to look at the region because it focuses on the value of goods and services produced in that region. And what we see is that we've been able to outperform our benchmark cities and the U.S. for the past 5 years, really by growing in areas such as energy, such as business and financial services, such as educational services. So those are areas that tend to create higher paying jobs. Those are areas where we tend to export that good or service outside the region. So that helps bring money into the region and benefit the economy as a whole.
Do we really see that when you look at the jobs in the region, that we're actually more successful in growing jobs that pay more than jobs than maybe the rest of the country is?
Yeah, we have seen that. Over the past several years, professional and business services, where you see a lot of the service firms like law firms, engineering firms, technology firms, along with energy, have really kind of been a nice, consistent engine for the regional economy, and those do tend to pay higher wages than other economic sectors.
You know, it's fascinating and all the more remarkable, Dennis, when you think that it's happening in a region with very slow, if at all, population growth.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good news is what Jim and David talked about earlier. The challenge we face is a demographic tsunami, and that's my word, but a couple of dynamics here. We have 278,000 baby boomers eligible for retirement in the next 10 years and over 500,000 in the next 15. The problem with that is the group that's coming up behind them is about 100,000 short. So just to stay even in our workforce, we got to figure out a way to replace 100,000 people. And there's really only three ways you can do that. One, you can retain more of the excellent college graduates that we produce every year. Two, we can continue to attract people from outside. And three, we can try to lift up the over 135,000 people on the unemployment rolls in the region. And the solution, frankly, is some combination of all three.
And one of the programs or initiatives you talked about at the quarterly meeting of the Allegheny Conference here was really trying to take a deep dive on the future of our workforce, right? That's coming up.
Yeah, the starting point to solving this problem is facts. And the good news is that we're going to be releasing shortly the first ever in the country supply and demand study, not only identifying where we are today, but where we're going to be in 3, 5, and 10 years. This data and information should help businesses, should help educators, should help families think better and more accurately about where the opportunities are going to be and chart out their educational and career pathways with a lot more information than they've ever had before.
And Dennis, what I would think as a native, you're feeling pretty good about where we are and where we're headed right now.
Yeah, in spite of the challenges that we face, I think our region's in the best position to sustain prosperity than it's ever been in my adult lifetime. And I think as long as we continue to identify and take up the challenges, I think we're going to continue to do very well.
All right, Dennis Yablonsky, CEO of the Allegheny Conference, Jim Futrell from the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance. Thank you both so much. Appreciate it.
Great.
All right, next up, we're going to be celebrating some success in strengthening communities throughout our region and give some thought to the work that still needs to be done. Our region's business will return to downtown Pittsburgh right after this.